Hi everyone, it's Andrew from AntRC, and here is part 5, I think this is, of my Horribull Killerbody shell. Horribull is its name, not my description of it. And this episode, we are going to have a look in as short a time as possible, because these are dragging on now, putting the roll bar on, which is not a big deal, and sorting out lights. So, the roll bar. It's a fairly simple, straightforward process. I haven't got the instructions, I don't know where they've gone, but I tidied up so I can't find anything naturally. But it doesn't take too long to work out how to put this together. These go in the back and connect into the... they go in one way because they go in at an angle A, like an inverted A shape. So they go in to the body and they sit like so. Yeah, so you get this inverted, fairly typical, I think, rollover bar shape at the back. They are plastic, no surprises there, and they do come with a rather fancy side panel. You find the one for this side, this little sort of triangle with cutouts in it, which is going to sit in there just to finish the side off a little bit like that. It comes with some caps to put under the body. The body, of course, is pre-drilled. I have had to widen the holes out with a reamer just to drop the posts in nicely, so they screw in through these caps under the body and clamp in that way, is what I'm guessing. That's what it certainly would appear to be the case. No great surprises on how to put it together, of course. What I'm going to do for you, though, is measure it. So 15.5 centimeters across, 8.5 centimeters high, and it runs along the side of the bed 95 millimeters, 9.5 centimeters. Yeah, it's been a long I am still eating my dinner, so there will be garlic bread and some salad floating around in various pictures and the sound of me eating it. Like now, for example. So let me put this on, put this together, and then we'll take a look at it finished. We've got it sorted out, it's installed, it's nice and strong. With the pre-drill, you widen the body holes, all 4 of them. They just aren't wide enough to accept the posts in, and I've had to widen these 2 as well because there's 2 bolts going from the front there. Let me show you if I can show you the sort of caps that it comes with. Let me get the light so you can get an angle there. Can you see it on there? Down here. There. Okay, catch the light with it. So there's the bolt, and there's a big collar, the big plastic collar, like so, that sits between the bolt head and the Nexan. So it's like a giant washer to hold them in place. So yeah, and then these bolt on. There's 3 screw holes down the side here of the main frame, but they only give you 4 screws. So I've only put 2 in. There's nothing in the bottom there, and I've realised that you have to put these on with the frame off the truck. So put those on first. Then you can, when it's all assembled, the last thing you'll do is drill some holes that are pre-marked on the rail, and they line up perfectly. So just pop some holes in there with your reamer, and then put a little screw in to hold the foot of this. Otherwise it kind of pings off because of the tension here. It sticks out a little bit, so it holds it now nice and firm. There's no movement on this at all now, this side panel. And so yeah, it's quite a handsome looking thing now. So the next thing I'm going to put on here will be the light bar. Get that on. I have got 2 light bars. The one I was originally going to use is actually too wide. I thought I'd got the measurement right, and on the face of it I have, but the width I had for the shell didn't cater for the fact that there's curves, and of course that means that the mounting brackets are going to be sticking out on the roof like a pair of Mickey Mouse ears, not vertically. They're going to be sat out at an angle, which is not going to work. Even if I bend them, it'll probably be too low, and there won't be the clearance on the light bar. So, enter light bar number 2. Now, light bar number 2 is an FTX Outback specific light bar. It is at initial look smaller. It isn't that much smaller, however, because it's got these long end pieces on, which are meant to fit onto a bracket that it comes with, and these, I guess, go onto the side of the truck or something, I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these end plastic collars off, so I can then can't cut them off completely because I suspect there's not a lot of room to drill into to mount the screws into after that. But I'll cut a little bit of it off, which should just allow me enough room to get the mounts somewhere near level on the roof. Yeah, it should just allow me, and I might have to put some short bolts in to hold them on. So yeah, it's going to be out with the trusty razor saw, and I'm going to cut these down probably 50%, and we'll go from there. Yeah, I'm going to look a bit silly if I end up cutting too much off and I can't bolt them in anymore. So let's cut a little bit off each of these, and then we'll test it for mounting. Right, good news. Okay, so what I've done is cut off a fair chunk of each of these of those extended collars, half of them to be precise. Well, it certainly wasn't precise, but roughly speaking, half of them. And I've mounted the ends on, and I've obviously inverted the bracket, which is going to make fixing on the roof a little bit tricky. But yeah, so I've inverted them, so I've got the as little smaller gap here as possible, and it fits on the shell. Let me show you. Right, so you can see there, if I straighten that out for you, you can get the idea. It's going to mount on there, on the flat, pretty much on the flat. I think it's going to be drilled through the first of the channels moulded onto the roof, and it's going to sit like right. So as you can see, I now have the mounts on the roof. What I'm going to do now is drill a hole in the roof for the servo cable. Now, I'm sure most of you will have already known that you can actually take these servo cables apart. You take the plug off, and for me to drill through this roof, rather than drilling a hole that as wide as the servo cable is, I'm going to drill a hole only 2 wires wide. So I'll take it out of this servo plug, and then I will reattach the servo plug once it's inside. Okay, so we should be able to see that now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to raise the little black prongs. Obviously there's no signal wire in this light bar, so it's just the red and the black cable. So there's an empty channel here, and they're only held in, these silver plugs are only held in by these little plastic tabs. So if we get in there without slicing our fingers, we can just get a knife blade under it. It goes back in. Obviously it'll go in just spring loaded if you like. It's got a one way, there you go. It's got a one way, there you go. So that's the connector. That's the inside of the servo. Okay, and there we go. We've got a nice light bar fitment. Quite happy with that. Haven't made too much of a mess of it. It's nice and sturdy. Shouldn't be any great bother. If it gets caught, I mean it's rock solid on there. So we've got the 4 mounting screws to either side, and there's my light cable coming through a fairly small hole in the roof. Okay, much less obtrusive than something that size going through there. Let me get it back on the chassis and you can see what it looks like assembled. Alright, what do you think? She's pretty beefy, isn't she? She does look a lot better with this back end on. Let me bring the back end around a bit more so you can get another view of it. Yeah, I'm really liking this this rack. And as I say, I'm going to paint the bed matte black as well, so it's not too shiny, and it doesn't, because this is obviously matte black plastic, so I'm tempted to try and take the seam line off it, which I personally have this almost an allergy about molded seam lines. But I know from experience this kind of plastic, kind of nylon-y almost plastic, it doesn't sand well. So I will just end up making more of a dog's dinner of it. So I'm going to have to get over my phobia and ignore it.